the laws are to the point where anybody can be locked up pretty much for any time. Like,
so who would you arrest here? For what? It seems like you need a reason. You were saying earlier that
but you don't. That's the thing you're not understanding. So like they were in the street.
That's enough. That's enough?
Yeah. We're setting the stage and then going, oh my gosh, look at this stage. Well, yeah, we created it.
Hello, it's June 2023, and I'm going to briefly talk about something that was inspired by, I guess the best descriptive would be a brief dialogue I had with someone with regards to the Constitution and the Founding Fathers and Forefathers and everything else. And I just want to highlight a few quick points here, because a lot of people, most people seem to have missed this. And I'm going to segue into another tangent of that's related. Now, when people say our Founding Fathers had, for example, given us constitutions, and this applies to, for example, any country, people in their minds envision that it's some sort of blood relation, perhaps even a friend that once existed, who gave us, for example, constitutions which gave, for example, freedoms. And those words, or that word specifically, forefather or founding fathers, was deliberate because it automatically gives an opportunity for people to connect to it or feel that they connect to it. It's psychology that's being used against the people. And then over time, people romanticize that whole thing of the Founding Fathers and Forefathers. People don't realize that these people were of no blood relation, no family, not even a distant family, nor were they even close friends in history to any family members that were alive in history. But people really harp on forefathers and the founding fathers of a nation. And I'm going to segue just for a brief moment. We tie that into when people say, for example, the fatherland or the motherland, attaching something that people feel they can connect to have that personal connection. But I digress. The constitutions and freedoms and all these things that people, especially truther types and freedom types, rant on about, were given by a former type of government, and it belongs to them. They have given people these things. They can give it, they can amend it, and they can take it away. And it's interesting, people who say that they're free and everything, and again, I'm not stating what people should say, think, or do, but I'm just simply highlighting something very obvious, that when you're too close to the forest, you don't see the trees, where people talk about, well, we had a lawful or legal protest or whatever, or they're abiding by the laws and rules and everything else, which is good, you know, it is what it is. But it's still not freedom. You're working within the freedom, the guidelines given. People seem to totally miss that. So just really want to give some points here to think about when it comes to relying on the term forefathers had given us this. They were a form of government that at some point, perhaps even in its conception, gave the people everything. And people try to use, for example, constitutions and laws and everything else as a defense for example, when they're fighting tyranny or what they perceive to be tyranny. And I'm not stating either way if it's true or not. I'm just trying to make a point here. But all these things can be circumvented. They're written on paper, but doesn't mean that it cannot be circumvented, or, for example, there are no loopholes, which ties into how a lot of truther types and even freedom types want to rely, for example, on common law. And I've talked about all these things for many, many years. And perhaps this is a revisit. But common law, what people, and I'm just going to be very simple in layman's terms, what common law is. Common law came from when kings and queens had rule over the land, and they wanted to create fairness, or at least the perception of fairness, by having rulings on, say, for example, crime or whatever. They wanted to have some consistency with, for example, punishments. And basically that's common law. And where we really see that is, for example, with case law, precedents, which is used in courts today. And then people try to, for example, say that we are being governed by the law of the sea and everything else. People don't understand how everything as a descriptive evolved. But I've talked about this in other videos, and I'm digressing here. And all these little safeguards that people think that are in place, for example, you can file complaints and all these things, again, they can be circumvented, ignored even, manipulated, changed to suit, for example, an agenda. But I really just wanted to highlight how people are relying on constitutions and their emotional connection to that, and through generations of romanticizing that, and how even laws, for example, and the opportunity, for example, to complain and everything else. And just before I finish this video, giving some food for thought, hopefully, what a lot of people don't understand. I can only really speak for Canada, but I'm pretty sure, based on what I know, that the United States, and every country probably has their own version of this as well, is in Canada there's two sets of the Canadian Criminal Code. Two sets. The wording is almost identical, except one version has, as a descriptive, a word or two that has changed, which may sound to be the same, but they're not. And it all depends on which set of criminal codes are being relied on, which determines if someone is, say, for example, found guilty of something or not. Now, where this, call it the second set of criminal codes that have the slight change in wording, are used, are, for example, in people in various positions of authority. And that's why we see a lot of times these people not being held accountable in the minds of society. And then we also have, for example, something called qualified immunity, where, for example, people within various governing bodies are exempt because of qualified immunity. And that's a whole different tangent to discuss. But I just really want to focus on how words are being used, or have been used, and will be used, to manipulate people, to control them. And that's really my whole point. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
I think a lot of them are just stone cold, there's no emotion, and they don't view people as people anymore. And you almost feel like you're literally living in a Twilight Zone, and you feel like you're the only sane one in a bunch of insane people. And I'm to the point where I'm afraid that I'm going to start thinking that this is normal. I don't want to ever get to that point.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, when is it going to get easier? When you die.